There's a meme to be made with our boy Ayano just kinda staring there as Buddy next to him is trying to save a girl who is getting filmed. I mean, her hair nearly ripped out, and honestly, it feels like we're moments away from boots to the face. And he's trying his best to go help her, and Ayano just sits there like, interesting. There's a meme to be made for that, just having that reaction, interesting, to stuff that kind of warrants a more extreme reaction. But what an episode. I really wasn't expecting to dive as into KEI'S kind of personal bullying story as much as episode 2 did, mainly because, if memory serves me, we didn't get a whole lot in terms of season 1 having her feel anything other than the typical mean girl. But I have to say season 2 is really impressing me with the interesting depth, making characters seem so much more than what they appeared to be at face value for so many episodes. And I think one of the more interesting tropes that you can break away from is the stereotypical super either rich, popular, sexy, mean girl persona, but actually show that persona is because she's very frail and weak, and in return, she's calling herself a parasite, that she basically needs to latch on to people in order to feel safe, sort of a thing. And you can definitely see why. If still, I have to call out these clowns, because I keep waiting for the bombshell that it's more than this. I really do. I mean, in episode 1's video, I talked about how, they basically are talking about how, she did the most horrible thing, she started the worst rumor about their friends. No, you apparently bumped into someone in a line and didn't admit to it. It's just the status these girls think they have over their head is just insane to me, that we're literally in a situation like this, where characters are crying and breaking down and are being physically and emotionally abused because seemingly you bumped into their friend. I'm still waiting for them to, explain further past that, and they still haven't. And I think it just goes to show that the true mean girls were these three all along. But I'm interested to see, what someone like Ayano would want to do with that situation, because he's not someone who really gets involved unless it seemingly benefits him. Or at the very least, he can gain some information prior to, because, you can kind of headcanon what he would do if he decided to step in. Probably would tell the guy next to him to stay back and he'll handle it. He'd probably be like, what are you doing, in a super calm way, and probably would not flinch at whatever they say or do. But at the same time, there's gotta be more to what he'll do with this relationship, given the fact that he seems rather curious about it without being I'm going to be the knight in shining armor at the end of the day. I was actually happy to see more with her boyfriend, or I guess we should say ex, given that they seemingly have broken up and she's now trying to move on to the next most likely shield that she can use to kind of stay afloat, but as we saw at the end of the episode, that may not have happened soon enough in order to protect her. I like the fact that he kind of talks about how, ever since the beginning, it's been pretty fake. They're not on first name basis. They aren't really, if you compare their first interactions to where they're currently at, it doesn't feel like they've gotten any closer. But there is this sense of he truly does feel bad and doesn't want to see her get hurt, but at the same time, he doesn't see much navigation unless she decides to apologize, but seemingly she sees nothing worth apologizing for. And we don't still have the full picture of everything that's went on, so it's hard to say if she should be or not. Based on what now 2 episodes have brought up, apparently she bumped someone in the line, and I gotta say, I'm kinda siding with her right now. But this show is full of twists and turns and character motivations we truly don't see coming, right? So I really don't know what they plan to do with this. The big thing I think right now that season 2 has going for it is that in the middle of the Find the VIP, still, the meetings are pretty basic, all things considered. They sit there, some people don't talk, some people play games by the looks of it. But I think the interesting thing about it is the kind of the bigger character moments that are kind of in the background, but are slowly getting kind of dragged to the forefront. And I think the interesting story that Kei has going on, they were teasing some pretty insane abuse from the shower scene last week to even kicking off in this episode with her literally calling herself a parasite in the mirror. And just, you can tell she has a very fake happiness that she wears on the outside, but deep down, she feels like she's one step away from jumping off that boat and going to Davy Jones's locker. So I'm interested to see what Ayano is going to do, or the characters around him are going to do with this situation, and if he can use it to basically aid in his conquest of trying to get his class to probably succeed in the best way possible. I also like just the simpler moments in this episode. I pretty much like the first half of this episode, all things considered, with him talking with his basically closest ally at this point here, Horikita, and just the idea that it always feels like there's so many things that he can manipulate at a moment's notice. You have that one dude who pops up Basically, it's a pretty good offer, all things considered, but of course, if you're not the one making the offer, you probably don't want to accept it at face value. The idea of like, how about we share the identities of like the VIPs, it looks like a pretty good deal. And even though she's throwing it back in his face like his plans aren't really that great and he's not going to be able to figure it out, I mean, our boy literally does call out in his head that his plan isn't actually that ridiculous and it might work out. Like the fact that he has all the cell phones from his class and that he'll just read the emails, and just the way he's going about it in a way that should get him expelled if he's caught, but he's being so bold saying he won't be, even though he's telling people he's about to do it. There's some interesting personalities at play, some that are so extreme that they just radiate arrogance, but they're not radiating arrogance in a way that makes them feel like they're going to trip and completely shatter. That's what I like about the cast surrounding Ayano, is that unlike a lot of shows where you have the very intelligent main character who out-manipulates, outsmarts everyone around him, there's usually one, maybe two characters next to them that feel like they can naturally compete with their intelligence. What I like about this show is that even if I don't necessarily think there's a handful of characters necessarily smarter than him, the way characters can either out-manipulate him or people around him, it doesn't feel like they're just pulling things from thin air. It's a pretty genuine way of how they're navigating, and as we see, like, it doesn't feel like Ayano is wearing the crown right now, right? He's pretty much sitting back saying, I really don't know where we're going just yet. So that's why I'm observing every nook and cranny so I can really make my play and figure out what to do with this situation. I do want to make a quick correction of something I said last week. I misremembered, so I said that I thought Season 2 was going to be finishing the first year. What it was actually confirmed is that because we knew we were getting Seasons 2 and 3 when they announced them basically back to back, Season 3 will be the end of the first year. So that was my mistake. I don't know, off the top of my head, how many light novels something adapts. I just remember like key phrases like, oh, people are saying this is going to be the end of it. So it seems like Seasons 2 and 3 will adapt the remaining light novels, and Season 1 I think adapted the first 3 or 4 or something like that. So you don't have to worry about because I know there was some light novel readers who, 1, corrected me, but 2, were like, oh shit, that seems really rushed. No, we should be good. I mean, just look at the pacing of these first 2 episodes. Even if they technically adapted a lot, it does feel like a pretty slow burn pace in terms of how the anime's presenting things. So I don't think we have to worry about pacing issues just yet, even though I know that was a complaint in the first season with supposedly some rushed content here and there. I mean, as an anime-only watcher, I loved it, but I do know the complaints were there. Seemingly with these 2 seasons, we shouldn't have to worry, and we will at the very least see the conclusion of the first year when Season 3 does drop. But this was a great episode. I'd go as far to say I enjoyed it more than its debut. Great to have the boy back and just all the characters surrounding him. I'm liking the production, and I also really like the kind of like first slate you see in the episodes where it's just a little phrase and it really sets in motion what to expect from an episode, even if you don't quite get it at face value. By the time the credits start playing, you really do understand why they chose that specific phrase to kick off the episode, because it just represents all the insanity that we actually just witnessed. But as always, let me know your thoughts and feelings on this episode, whether if you're a fan of that source material or if you're anime original like myself, let me know. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.